Welcome back, guys. I'm Theo Joe, and today we got our daily tech news. I got 5 stories that I think you guys are going to be interested in. Let's get started. First up, the classic Indestructible Nokia 3310 phone from 15 years ago is making a comeback. The new brand owner of Nokia, HMD Global, decided that they wanted to reboot the old 3310 and produce a modern version of it, although it's not exactly got the most modern features. But the idea is, I guess, that they wanted to build a rugged phone that's pretty much just a phone. And let me tell you, this is no smartphone. It is extremely basic. So that means it does not have Wi-Fi, it doesn't have GPS, there's no app store to install apps. But what you do get is a 2-megapixel camera on the back and a color screen. Oh, what everyone's always wanted. But on the upside, it only costs $50. So that's pretty much less than what 1 month of a phone plan costs these days. And then in addition, because it uses so little power, I guess, they say the battery is gonna last a month on standby. So I don't know if anyone's really gonna buy this. I know the whole 3310 Nokia phone is like a joke. People make jokes about it being indestructible, but I don't know if that's going to translate into people actually buying one to use. Certainly not for an everyday phone, maybe for special purposes, I think, possibly. Like if you need a cheap phone just to bring somewhere, you're worried about it getting broken, like, I don't know, you're going to the beach, or maybe you're going on off-roading or something and you're worried about it getting dirty, you could bring it there. Or maybe you just want a really cheap phone as a backup or to give to your kids or something so they just have a way to call you if they need it. Stuff like that where it's not really necessary to have a whole smartphone, it's more of just you only need a way to call someone and that's it. Next up, story number 2 is another blast from the past. We got Blackberry, who released a new phone called the KeyOne, and this thing, most notably, has a physical keyboard. We have not seen that in a while, but BlackBerry decided to go back to its roots and make a phone that's both a smartphone and has a physical keyboard. Now, if you're like me, then when you heard about this, you probably were thinking, what? A physical keyboard? BlackBerry, what are you doing? This is 2017. But then I read a little bit more about it, and it actually seems a little bit interesting. I think if put in front of the right person, they might like it enough to get one. For example, one of the cool things is the entire physical keyboard is also a touchpad. So the keyboard, you can move your finger around it, I guess, and control a mouse on there. So that's kind of cool, actually. I haven't seen that before. And also, each of the keys are programmable, for example, to launch an app. So if you wanted to have F for Facebook, you can press and hold that from the home screen and it would launch into Facebook. So it is kind of convenient in some ways to have that physical keyboard, but you really would have to need that physical keyboard and want it. And it actually has pretty decent specs, more than I would expect from a BlackBerry. For example, it has Android 7.1, the latest version. It's got 3 gigabytes of RAM. It has the Snapdragon 625, not bad. And it has a 3,500 milliamp hour battery with USB-C, so pretty decent. Not low end, but also not high end, definitely not trying to compete with any of the flagships. I think this is going to be more for like business oriented people like they always have been, or maybe people who really want practicality and they just really enjoy typing on a physical keyboard for some reason. They don't need a ton of bells and whistles, but it still does have smartphone features. You can install apps with Android, stuff like that. All right, number 3, pretty exciting for anyone who has an Android phone or at least a relatively new one. The Google Assistant is going to be rolling out to anyone with Android 6.0 or later. So previously it was only on the Pixel phone, but now it's going to be included in an update to the Google app on Android, so you can actually run it natively on older phones as well. And this update most likely will be rolling out this week, or at least in certain countries, and it will be the Google app. You probably already have it installed. And this is pretty interesting because, as I said before, the Pixel phone is the only phone that had it before. It was Google's own phone, but now we saw at least the LG G6 is shipping with it prepackaged, and now you can just get it on any phone. So I think Google is really making a push for AI and to take on Siri. Obviously, that's been around in Apple phones forever, so now they're trying to do their own thing. I just hope they start to implement new features like on Google Home. I have that, but they kind of half-assed it, I think. The Google Home can't even do a lot of the stuff that the Google Assistant can. For example, with the Google Home, I can't even have it set reminders. Like, are you kidding me? You can do it on the Google Pixel, but not on the Google Home. So I'm hoping this means that they're going to be rolling out more features and just working on it more. Okay, number 4, Dolby Vision, an HDR standard created by Dolby. I've talked about this before in other videos, I think. Will now be able to be available as a software update. So previously, you needed to have a TV that was pre-built with Dolby Vision in mind and had hardware that specifically was designed to work with Dolby Vision. But now they're saying that Dolby Vision is going to be available purely as software, which means that if a manufacturer is so inclined to support it, they'll actually be able to push it to older TVs or devices, and then you can have Dolby Vision on that TV as well. Not just new stuff, and not just stuff that has the specific hardware. So some advantages of having this as software as opposed to hardware, there's plenty, but for example, current TVs can get it, as I just said. But also newer TVs that will have it will probably be cheaper since they don't have to go through and have any special modules or hardware in there extra to support it. They can just load it up as a software package. Doesn't cost anything except maybe some licensing packages or something like that. In addition, this will probably mean that it will have wider adoption since it's going to be more widely available if it's cheaper to buy TVs with it, and you can just get it on really any TV that physically supports it. If the manufacturer puts the update out, then this means that people are going to be more likely to produce content and film in Dolby Vision if they know that a lot of people are going to be able to watch in it. Now, there hasn't been much word on exactly what TVs will be getting the update or if all of them will. They did specifically mention that the Sony Bravia Z-Series TVs will be getting it, and also Oppo, that's a company that produces a Blu-ray player, an HDR Blu-ray player, will be getting an update as well. So it's not just TVs, also 4K Blu-ray players and that sort of thing. Okay, finally, number 5, Sony has said that they sold over 915,000 to be exact, PSVR virtual reality headsets that work with the PlayStation 4. And this is exciting and interesting because that means that they outsold the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive by a lot. I think more than them combined. And this isn't exactly surprising, I would say, because the PSVR is significantly cheaper, I think at least by $100, than the other headsets, and you don't have to buy a high-power computer or have one of those in order to run games on it. You just have to have a PS4, which a lot of people already have, so it's a much lower barrier to entry, and even though it's definitely not as good, I would definitely say that, as the other headsets, which do use high-power computers and make sense, it's good enough. The tracking is okay. It's good enough to at least be able to have fun. I didn't get dizzy or anything like that. So I think that for people who just want the basic VR, or rather I wouldn't even call it basic, just the lower end but still good enough VR, this is a good option. So it'll definitely be neat to see how companies respond to this news. They might say, oh, well, why make such a high-end expensive headset if the cheapest one got the most sales, you know what I mean? And maybe they'll make them specifically for consoles in addition to just PC, or maybe even headsets that work on both console and PC. I think that would be pretty awesome. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Oculus and HTC starting to make these headsets that work not just for PC, but also for consoles, just to get that bigger market share and potentially get people liking it enough to maybe go out and spend more money on a PC to get the best experience out of it. So that is it for the tech news today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section, and be sure to subscribe, obviously, because I'm making these videos every day now. And if you want to keep watching, of course, I'll put my most recent video right here. You can click on that even if you're on a phone. And also, you guys can suggest stories you have, what you think I should talk about, and maybe if I haven't heard of it yet, I'll throw it in there. So as usual, thanks again for watching, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.